Hi, everybody. Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather report for us for the week of March 4th through 10th, and there's a lot going on this week. Main event is next Sunday's new moon in Pisces, but I also mentioned last week how the North Node was going to conjunct Chiron this week, and Mars is going to hit that. And then Mercury's got some interesting energy going on this week too, as it changes signs actually later in the week to Aries, where it's going to spend an extended period of time because that's the sign it's going to go retrograde in for the first retrograde of Mercury this year. So that's what we're going to talk about this week. Just a few reminders first. The Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I give weekly on YouTube. So if you have a YouTube account and you like what you see, please become a follower and then turn your notifications on so you know when the blog is posted. The blog is also available on podcasts. It was a podcast long before it was a YouTube channel. So just look up Astrological Winds channel on one of your favorite podcasts. You'll find it. If you don't find it on one, just check another one. It's distributed out by Buzzsprout. A lot of them pick it up. Also, if you have Instagram, I do have an Astrological Winds channel page on Instagram where I also post the link. So become a follower there if you do. And sometimes I post extra stuff during the week in comment form. Also posted on my Facebook, which is private, Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten, if you want to friend me, and it'll come up in your newsreel every week. The best way to find it is on my website, where it's embedded on the blogs page, on the blogs tab of the website. And that website is www.astrologicalwinds.com. And that also has all the information if you ever need a reading. I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing readings professionally for over 20 years. I was trained formally for 7 years before that. To get to that point. Done many readings over the years, and that's a great way to support me. If you or someone you know needs a reading, all types of readings available. Once again, go to my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com, and it'll tell you all the kinds. There's a menu on the readings and prices and things like that. And and if the prices, you need to work with me, drop me an email. There's an email link on the website. It's matthue823@gmail.com, and I can work with you and work with your budget and stuff. And if you have a group or someone like that looking for group astrology type stuff, I'm available for things like that too. And remember, it is a free blog. So what I do ask is that you pass the link on to somebody that might be interested in it too. That's really my favorite way to get the blog to grow. And so I really appreciate that. Anybody who would like to give a currency donation to the blog, that's wonderful too. Thank you to anyone who does. You know who you are. And my Venmo handle is at Matthew with two T's and then a hyphen, Lawton, Lauten. All right, let me get into this week. There's a lot going on for sure. And starting today, this Monday, Mercury, still in Pisces right now, is sextiling Uranus today. And that has a way of really stimulating the mind, actually, like getting creative energy into the intellect, things that kind of excite us. Maybe we get some new information, that some news or some kind of connection with another that brings us new information, and it stimulates us and gets the mind moving fast. And it's a very acute, sharp mind too. There's a lot of ingenuity in there. There's a lot of insight and perception. And what that does is it opens really our mind up. And when we open our minds up, it creates new opportunities to act, on that stuff. And that's really what the sextile will do. We're going to get this new information, and then it's up to us whether we want to use it or not. But it's going to be very exciting. It's going to be very stimulating. And a lot of times when Mercury and Uranus are involved, it's Mercury's the lower octave of the mind, and Uranus is the higher octave of the mind. It blends the intellect and the intuition together, and they work very well together, very electrically. And a lot of times, we have the ability, therefore, to use technology and science and things like that to advance a lot of these ideas that we may have at that point. So that's a new, something to look into doing. But if nothing else, we're looking for new experiences today. And out of those experiences, we get new insights, we get new perceptions. A lot of times, if we've been struggling with, like, certain things that seem to be stuck, and it's clear where we can see the mistakes. Today is the kind of day where the mind is open enough where we can start to see solutions, new angles to coming at things that may have been stuck at a certain point. So it's really just really a good day to do something different, to experience something different, to get new information, to connect with others. It really excites us. Now, Wednesday, and I talked about this last week, and I said it was one of the more important things going on this month, the North Node conjuncting Chiron. And I, talked about it a lot on a collective way last week. So, go back to that blog. I mentioned it near the end of the blog where I'm talking about the stuff in March, and I'm not going to go through that collective stuff again because, interestingly enough, on Wednesday, when this is exact, the North Node conjunct Chiron and Aries, Mars is actually going to sextile both of them. And I think that's really going to bring it down to an individual level, and is actually very, very useful, because I think it's going to give us opportunities to connect with groups and, like, be able to, like, stimulate a lot of our own agenda. Like, a lot of the innovative stuff we even see today on Monday may stimulate new ideas that we want to bring to a group. And Tuesday is the day that we have the opportunity to do that, to take some kind of action forward, to realize that we have similar ambitions and goals, and that we each have a unique talent that we can put towards that. And we can really operate as a team well, really, really well. Mars can get into a very comradeship way. It's like it really, it's a great sports analogy, actually, what's going on Wednesday, especially with the energy so focused in Aries, which is this very active energy where individuals will initiate and take energy. And then you have Mars in Aquarius, and that Mercury sextile Uranus going on a couple days before that, stimulating the intellect and the mind to act on this. And the cool thing about the North Node, Mars, and Chiron all coming together is there's going to be personal satisfaction out of it too, because we're going to be able to use some of our talents in what we feel is a positive way to create change, to bring some innovation into projects that we're sharing with other people. And it can ripple out. It can be like, it can make that group look, it's like I said, it's a great sports analogy for teamwork. It's like, having, like everybody doing their job the right way. So, like, if, like, I mean, if it was like, a team sport like football, like it's a play where everybody does their job perfectly, touchdown, like, what I mean? Like, so it's like got a really good cohesive energy where, everybody knows their parts. Like, even the guys who are not directly involved, even other people who might be, helping in other ways, that energy is really aligning really well for that on Wednesday. So, and like I've said, with that Chiron and both North Node and Aries, and I've said this over and over, right? When Chiron went into Aries several years ago, North Node last year, it is a time where we really have to be responsible for our own healing and actions and stuff. Like, we have to, you know, take charge of what we want to see happen in our lives to make it better, which is what, really healing is all about, is having some kind of joy and not stress. And when it's in Aries, we really have to be self-responsible about that. But here, this energy is very congruent. North Node always wants to work in some groups, and so this energy is very congruent on an individual level this week to, really be able to get a lot of satisfaction out of using our abilities in these situations, in things that we're very interested in moving forward with, and do bring a lot of learning to us, a lot of wisdom to us, and a lot of satisfaction that we're actually doing something that we're meant to be doing here, that we're not pandering to something else that's not really us. So, very interesting energy there. On Friday, Mercury has its annual conjunction to Neptune, still in Pisces, right? So, and near the end of Pisces too. And this is like it's a conjunction, and conjunctions can go like, can go either both ways, in the way we judge things, in the sense of like, is it positive or is it negative? And on a very positive side, this really stimulates the imagination, inspiration. The mind is super sensitive to other people, the environment, and on a very abstract level can get very inspired and imaginative about what it's seeing, the insights, very connected to subtle worlds, and being able to draw inspiration out of that. So it can be like an artistically creative time, especially with things like words. We can, all the different types of art forms that have words at in as part of them, can be very, very stimulating. Creative writing, poetry, prose, lyrical stuff, storytelling, all that kind of stuff can be very, very stimulating. And it's also a time where we can get into like spiritual journeys too, not just artistic creative stuff, but like mysticism, mystical journeys, spiritual journeys, journeys into the occult, journeys into the psychic world, where what normally in our mind is blocking us from taking in subtle energies, in Pisces, that a lot of those boundaries are dissolved, and then with Neptune even more so. So it's like the ability to tap into things like that and really come up with new ideas, new ways of expressing ourselves in artistic ways, things like that. Now, it does also have us have a tendency to live in a fantasy world, and kind of ignore reality, or misinterpret reality is a good way to say it. Not be very realistic and grounded about the way we're comprehending reality. So we can actually misread a lot of stuff, and it can also be very tricky for getting in any kind of solid agreement. I would actually recommend not getting into any kind of solid agreement, during this little period of when Mercury, especially Friday, a little bit Thursday, going into Saturday, because the reality is when Mercury is conjunct Neptune, we don't see everything. There may be like information that hasn't been exposed to us yet. There may be information that's even being held back by the other party, that's like secretive, that they don't want us to know because it'll influence the way we decide to approach things. And I mean, people can literally be even purposely deceptive. It can be very like, so it's something where you really just don't want to, you know, make those kind of decisions yet. It's best to say to someone, hey, I'll get back to you, because like I'm not clear on this, which is really the truth. And so, we just gotta kind of look out for those kind of things, when this Mercury Neptune, but it does give us a very rich fanciful mind that's highly creative. Um, Saturday, the energy switches quite up a bit from that kind of energy. And the first thing I want to talk about is Mars is square Uranus Saturday. And this is very explosive energy. This is very compressed energy that explodes out in a very short period of time. So a lot of times it can represent explosive events, like things that are just sudden events that occur because someone reacts impulsively, or just energy has built up to such a point that it just boom explodes out. So like it can indicate, like literally like naturally disaster type events. It can mean like, events that are triggered by people who are not handling the turmoil that's inside them and then react angrily and impulsively on the outside. It can be very upsetting energy, and it can easily be what we call explosive or violent energy. It can be like a bomb literally going off, if you kind of want to use that as an analysis. And basically what's going on is there's a lot of restlessness inside us about the way things are going, and it can make us feel very, very impulsive and rebellious against anything that we're perceiving blocking us. A lot of times, obviously, that turns into other people, especially people who have some authority over us in some way or another. So this is like the energy of where you'll see people who are like, what you want to call downtrodden or in the weaker position rebel, and they may do that in violent ways. It's the kind of energy where, it's ripe for things like, if a terrorist attack or something like that, because people are so upset inside, restless inside, and they want to do something impulsive outside. And the thing is, if you hold that energy in, that's when the outer event comes to you that's upsetting. So there is this need to allow change to come in and get you out of that restlessness, right? But it has to be like a creative change for you that you're accepting, because if it's something that you're angry about and there's this turmoil, then it is going to probably make you act impulsively, or if you can control that but still have it bottled inside, it will bring some event to you. It will manifest some event, maybe through another person who's even upsetting, that you're going to have to deal with. But it's just very explosive anger when it's holding that, and we get into very rash and impulsive maneuvers. We can hurt ourselves really badly. We can be our own worst enemy when Mars is square Uranus. We do thoughtless things, and if we're not in our right frame of mind for whatever reason, that's when we're more likely to be impulsive about what we're doing. Now, if we can allow in that creative change, it brings a greater degree of freedom to us, where we can act more independently. And that can actually be very satisfying. We can find new parts of ourselves. And just like the Mercury sextile Uranus to Uranus always shows us another way to do things too. So if we can once again allow the creative change to come in, not get angry and overreact to it, it can bring us new ways of acting or solutions to things that have had us stuck or challenged before, and bring in some really sweet creative change that's very dynamic and exciting and stimulating, and you want to move forward, and you actually have the ability to make a big leap forward, like literally in yourself on an evolutionary basis, if you can do that, if you can allow that change in. And it can, change a lot of the ways that you act and react to things. Now, interestingly enough, Saturday is also the day Mercury changes signs and goes into Aries. Okay. So it's been in Pisces, which is its weakest sign, for a while. Now it's going to go into Aries, where it's a very different Mercury energy, not the strongest sign once again. Now, what's interesting about this journey of Mercury and Aries, so it's starting on March 9th, Saturday, right? Mercury normally is in the sign, what, like 3 weeks, right? Very quick footed, Mercury moves fast. This is going to be a time when Mercury will be in Aries for about 2 months, about 9 weeks or something like that, until May 15th, actually. And why? Because it's going to go retrograde in Aries. Like I've been saying the last couple months, all the planets are direct right now. And the first one that's going to go retrograde this year is going to be Mercury's first time this year, going retro on April 1st in Aries, very near the end of Aries at about 28 degrees of Aries. So, interestingly enough, since it goes back out that far, that means when it starts to go retrograde on the 1st, it's going to stay in Aries the whole time it's retrograde. It's only going to go back to actually 16 degrees of Aries by the 24th of April and then turn direct again. But then it's going to take it all the way till May 15th to go into Taurus. So it's a long time we're going to deal with Mercury and Aries. So what does that mean? It means hot-headedness. It's going to be hard for us to control our tempers about a lot of things. We're going to have a mental attitude of like looking for a fight, kind of looking for a quarrel, wanting to argue, not allowing energy in, not receiving very well, very subjective about our opinions and ideas and thoughts, even if they may possibly be wrong. We have our ego gets very tied up in our thoughts and beliefs when Mercury is in Aries, and we automatically autopilot go to defensive posturing when anybody has a different opinion, and they may be right too, and it still doesn't matter to us. It's almost like we want to have some kind of fight, but we can be very aggressive about our ideas too. We want to push them. It's just the energy of propaganda, the energy of coercion. And I think you'll probably see this play out on the world stage during this whole 2 month period where, blowhard energy, like I'm just going to talk over you, talk louder than you, more aggressively than you, not listen to you at all, discount everything, that you're saying. Not a good listening time for communications when Mercury is in Aries. Not a good time for receiving. The mind is super, super subjective, and just cannot help but automatically reject most other ideas unless it's something that is really appealing to it. And part of the problem with it too is we jump to conclusions too easily. We get very impulsive and we mess ourselves up, therefore. And then we get all angry and think that it's someone else's fault or the situation's fault, where it's like, no, you just didn't think very much before you did what you made your decision, and then you messed yourself up. Now, it does make us very externalized after coming out of that Piscean inner energy of the mind, where we do want to go out and find new ways of dealing with things, but a lot of times it's just for the sake of finding some new way. What we really need to do is find new ways of doing the things we normally do with our minds, and improving that. And that would be a better way to use the Mercury and Aries energy than trying to be so coercive and pushy about that kind of stuff. Because, but a lot of times there is there's for many people there's a satisfaction in having like some kind of debate that can be quarrelsome and stuff, and this is the kind of energy they get off. You're getting off on it kind of in a way. So very interesting there. Okay, so and then the main event of the week on Sunday is our new moon, and it's at 21 degrees Pisces, and it's sextile Uranus. It's ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in that sextile with Saturn that I've been talking about, and also in a grand trine with the two asteroids Ceres and Juno in the Earth grand trine. So new moon's always about beginnings, right? Planting seed, new things, And what we want to do is look at where 21 degrees Pisces is in your chart, and that'll show you the house that is where the new moon is falling in your chart, and that will let you know the area of life. So if it's in the sixth house, for instance, that means new beginnings at work or finding some kind of new way of doing your routine, you know. So when it's in Pisces, that new moon in Pisces is always looking for emotional unity with whatever is going on, with the others that are around it, with the environment that is around it, with whatever it's into. It's looking for this unifying kind of energy. And the moon really works well in Pisces. You know, it really likes to be there. It's an emotional sign, just like the moon is. So we get very deeply connected to it, to our emotions. In fact, it will be a height time to use emotional intuition. Like our feelings about things can be very on about a lot of stuff if we can maintain clarity, you know. So we really sense other people's moods really well, and we can react to them like with sympathy, with empathy, with compassion, with an understanding that underneath it all we're much more similar than different, and drive that kind of energy. And it also, you know, fires up the imagination, the inspiration once again. You know, Pisces is like so much about this inspiring energy of wanting to connect, and it, you know, can bring us on a spiritual or artistic journey where, you know, we can really put a lot of creative energy into that, as the sensitivity we have into that. It also can break down the barriers of like what is between us when we're trying to communicate on different levels besides just words. So like it can really dissolve a lot of boundaries and give us the ability to communicate in other ways that are non-linear, you know. So we really can feel our way through a lot of things. You know, it is a sensitive moon too. Like, you know, like when the moon is in Pisces, we can be very easily hurt by, you know, what others say or do in relation to us. So, you know, but it is, and it, you know, can be a little bit out of touch with reality. It lives like in this fantasy ideal world, you know. But at the same time, you know, like I said, it can be very rich with imagination, inspiration, compassion, and bringing things together, unifying energy, understanding each other on a deep level. And then the sextile Uranus shows that, you know, that kind of opening can bring in a lot of creative change into our lives that will bring in opportunities to have change in our lives that we like, that excite us, that, you know, have us worked up emotionally, that we're feeling really good about. And you know, and a lot of times that comes through other people. So we get some very stimulating new connections, possibly, or some kind of new information that's really personalized for us and can really get us going. So it's like a time where we can once again use a lot of those opportunities to make changes at a new moon based on new insights and perceptions that we're having on these very deep and subtle levels, you know. And it can go right up into the mind too, with Uranus there, you know. And also the sun there is like literally like change, you know, having the opportunity to change parts of our life. And then with the ruler of the new moon, Jupiter sextiling Saturn, as I've said before, that actually shows that if we take those opportunities, we are building something solid and strong for the future. That we're, you know, that we're opening up to something that has this really good balance between reality and our ideals and can build a strong foundation under it. You know, it's interesting with Jupiter in that grand trine in Earth with Ceres and Juno, because it shows that by doing that, we can, you know, get the payoff in some very fruitful, productive success and endeavors. And that, you know, that we can bring that energy, this energy of caring and protection to others. And in particular with the trine of Juno too, in our partnerships. So this is a great new moon to actually bring in ideals, make changes in the way we approach things, and then bring that to other people in groups and stuff, and together can be a very appealing new level of evolution that you're going into together, that's like got these new insights, these new perceptions, is very open to them, and is taking that energy up to another level. Now, the one other thing I wanted to mention, also on Sunday, we have a Mercury sextile Pluto. And this is really good energy for Mercury. It can really look deeply into things and get a real deep understanding of what makes things work below the surface, and especially the mind. So it's great for human mind studies, psychology, things like that, where you're really getting deep into your own mind and seeing how it works and functions and getting a greater understanding of that. But it also is just great for using the mind, because it's a very focused mind, a very concentrated mind. If you're using the mind to do any kind of research, or or study, like looking through information with a fine comb, investigation of things, it just has this very, and then when it does find out the information that stimulates it, and it considers valuable, it likes to process it with others. It likes to bring this, like, look at this brilliant stuff, these ideas and insights I have, out to the world. And so there's a communication thing about it too, this like really deep, passionate communication about what we're seeing and what we're trying to develop and what we're trying to move on to. So a lot of deep learning opportunity about our own inner workings and how we can affect things when we're using our mind in a very focused way. So, all right, I've got a long time today. There was a lot of stuff on there, and I could probably even go on more about some of that stuff. But yeah, a lot of dynamic stuff this week, a lot of positive stuff this week too, like these opportunities to be creative, with the mind, and to take action on that, and to connect with others, and to have a stimulated imagination, and the ability to take some of that and plug it into the mind, the higher mind, and bring some fruitful and productive endeavors, bring some value and benefits to other people, each other. So very lot of really strong energy moving in a forward direction this week. And I think, we're going to go into that Aries stuff soon, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to keep control of ourselves, and not reacting defensively. But like, here's some opportunities this week to show us other ways to do things, and maybe, beat that, Aries energy to the finish line and be like, I'm ready for you. I've stepped my game up, and I'm ready to take it to another level because of these perceptions that I've had, and that I'm starting to integrate and work with others on too. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. This is a free video blog on YouTube. Please become a follower if you're a YouTube channel person, and you have an account there, and turn your notifications on. Remember, it's also on podcasts. It's embedded in my website. It'll take you right to the YouTube channel, www.astrologicalwinds.com. I could really use your support too when you need a reading, or someone that needs a reading. That's what I do. It's my job. So like, please, if you're looking for something like that, check in with me. Check the website again. The menu is there. The prices are there. I can work with you on prices, things like that. So, doesn't hurt to contact me. The email contacts there is matthue823@gmail.com. If you have a group too that's looking for some kind of astrology event, there's information on the website for that too. And, if you'd like to give a donation, no donation is too small. I really appreciate anyone who does that. Please pass the link on now that we're done, and give me a little repayment for this service. I appreciate you all, and I'll see y'all next week. And I know we've got Venus changing signs next week. It's going to go into Pisces, where she's really, really happy. So that'll be something to look forward to next week too. I will see you all then. Let's plant some nice new seeds of inspiration with this new moon.